Boom. I can't believe I'm actually streaming. I'm streaming live. And it seems like the last 2 times I've done this, it's pretty much worked. Hello. Oh, there it is. Live streaming. I'm going to mute that. And I'm live streaming. So I heard today that OpenTunes 1.3 was out. And I think I talked about this a little earlier today, but basically I determined that it's not a compelling upgrade for me. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is it's just paint time. It's just grunt work. I was working earlier from the top down, basically laying in paint and shadows. And so there's some stuff that's sort of half done, and then when I sat down here I just started working from the bottom up, so you know, whatever. So there's that, and I'm not doing shadows right now. I'm just kind of going through and getting things painted. So if you like watching someone paint, then this will be a fun live stream. If you don't like watching people paint, then this is going to be totally boring for you. So don't say I didn't warn you. Skin, 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 skin. Boom, we got to go black, black. Every once in a while I got to go in with the paintbrush and touch her up a bit. There's Ninja 2's hair. Whoops, got to hit the F key. And I did actually have kind of a strategy on his sword on the last frame. I'm going to worry about these animation lines later. But yeah, okay, it looks like I used... I'll call that... I don't know, I'm not going to call that... I guess I'll call it hilt, because it doesn't have a name yet, so since I am using it for that, we'll just go ahead and call it that for fun. And then I wound up using this, I believe, yeah, for the blade, which clearly I don't even have to try to fill it to see that's going to be a problem right there. So okay, did I do his eyes? I don't think I did. It's kind of important to do the eyes because otherwise the background shows through them. Alright, and right here you notice I have my paintbrush set to areas only so it doesn't affect the lines, which is kind of convenient. And okay, that's good for that frame. Now we got to come here and fill in his eyes and fill in his hair, and then let's zip out just a bit. Okay, like I said, I'm going to worry about the action lines there at a later time. Okay, so black, 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 black. Little bit of latitude on the hole where I do the black on the feet. There's actually some leather involved, but I'm not, especially if it's moving quick. Not always super picky about that. Okay, so there's that and that. So yeah, OpenTunes 1.3 definitely a good upgrade for excuse me, almost everyone. And the only reason I'm not endorsing it personally is just because it looks to me like most of the features. Looks like I got to do some selective erasing here. Looks like most of the features in OpenTunes 1.3 are already in the version I'm using. Okay, and I can see a little bit of winkiness there. We want to try to put a stop to. And you can also see this is, I mean, you probably never see this in a show, but why not go in and get those details? So okay, so now here this is, I probably should go ahead and fill that, and then I'm probably gonna just have to do that one with a paintbrush. Nope, no good. Do it again. Cool. Alright, and then we're over to this guy, and looks like we're gonna have black, 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 black. Looks like we forgot the little glovey thingy here, so by just doing a little bit with the paintbrush, we take care of that. And there we go. So yeah, like I said, this is probably boring, but I figured, oh well, as long as I'm doing it, I'll go ahead and hit the old streaming button and make another video. I'm just making all kinds of videos. Okay, so I guess this was what I called the hilt. You know, I guess I can tweak some of that with the shadow layer, so no biggie. Alright, and that's not gonna fill very easily, I don't think. Okay, are we good? Looks like we are. Yep, let's go up a frame and paint. Oh wait, I don't think I did the leather on his shoes. Nope, I didn't. So this is where I was talking about I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Excuse me. Did I do the same thing on the last frame? No. There we go. Now it's gonna be principally the same. I saw something flash. Aha! Okay, so here's a simple fix for that. Take the S key, go Control C, Control V. Since he didn't move between those two frames, I can cheat a little bit. Okay, now let me see. There was something else I thought flashed. Yep, right there. You see that? That's not good. So let's hit the B or the P key. And I shouldn't have done that last stroke. Okay, that's, you know, there's still a little bit of chatter, but I think we're okay. All right. So yeah, in case you're wondering what actually happens here, this guy does this absolutely ridiculous move after she rips her dress. He does this, which is completely insane, and then she simply kicks him in the jewels and puts an end to that. So now he's like, ah, and he keeps going backwards while the other guy goes and takes a swipe at her, and this guy falls out the window. Now, that's really not funny. I mean, falling out a window is really not funny. Is it? Yeah, it kind of is, actually. Alright, black, 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 black. Wow, you think this will fill? Oh, it did! Amazing. Although, I think what I should do is go freehand, and then that'll get the little knobby at the top. And as long as I've got the freehand mode engaged, I'll go ahead and get, I guess that's all I'll get. So back to normal mode, and F for fill tool. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to touch this up with the, whoops, that's wrong. Touch this up with the paintbrush. But hey, there are worse things, so here we go. Let's just go through and cleany uppy poo. So if you're wondering, how do you paint like this and not paint over the lines when the lines, as you can see here, and the paint are all in the same layer? Well, it's because when I use the paintbrush or the fill tool, it's set to areas as opposed to lines, or opposed to lines and areas. So it's only going to affect areas. Okay, so now what we have here that's problematic, oh boy, by the way, that could be a little cleaner, could it not? Yes, indeedy, I think it could. Yeah, that's close enough for rock and roll. Okay, so here we go. He's got this leather going on. Right there, we got a little issue. I'm just going to front load myself here by doing it by hand. Okay, so here we've got we're going to need black, and I need to just actually put a line like that around that area and there. Fill. That way I can take the skin and probably what I should do is do a freehand fill. So if I wrap it around just that stuff, yeah, we didn't catch this area, but I think that's probably okay. So, fill tool. Hello. Oh, sorry. Got to be in normal mode. And let's zoom way in. See what we've got here. I'm just going to paint this by hand because trying to get this to fill properly is going to be somewhat of a pain, I suspect, because it's such a tiny area. And since I love to paint, I love to draw and paint, then might as well just have some fun. Okay, so now where's the eyes? Fill tool. So the eyes, those red lines, have a feature called auto paint for lines, which causes them to disappear. Oh, there's that problem again. I'm going to hit the eraser selective mode, and it's only going to erase the color that's selected, which is that. And now we're back into fill mode, and again, a little problem that I get to fix. And oh, what fun it is to fix things. Okay, so there's that. Now over this guy. Hit the K key to sample that color. Then the P paintbrush. Excuse me. Doing a little touching up here. I'm going to grab the hilt. Fill tool. I never named this up till now, so I'm just going to name this blade, even though I'll call it, actually I'm going to call it Ninja Blade, because I believe I use the color of the eyes for Akari's blade. So this looks a little bland, but it won't look so bland after I add the shadow layer. Eyes, fill, black, and skin. Okay, so there's one person watching right now, and frankly it might be me because I have a window open that confirms that the live stream is actually working. And frankly, folks who might watch this later when it's just playing back as opposed to streaming, I'm here to tell you that if you find this dreadfully dull, hey, I don't blame you. No worries here. Yeah, that's definitely less than stellar. Less than stellar, folks. So yeah, I mean, how interesting is it really to watch somebody just paint? I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched somebody just paint. Okay, take that off selective mode. And that won't work. I guess we need to go back to our lines color, and there we go. Fill. I keep forgetting though. I think I forgot the leather on his shoes again. Nope, I guess I remembered it that time. Okay, now like a bonehead, I just did that completely in reverse. I am a silly pilly pants. Okay, boom. Nope, don't want to do that. We need the leather color, so I'm going to hit K to just sample that. And then obviously it will not fill such a tiny little area. So black, fill. Yeah, there's definitely some issues here. That's alright. Fairly easy to fix. Fill. Yeah. Once your drawings get so tiny in the frame, they have these little cracks and crevices that are difficult to fill in. I can't remember if I did the eyes on this guy or not. It looks like I didn't. Alright, and his hair. So, Obvious. Fill, fill, fill. Let's see how this does. Boom. Yeah, see? Fortunately, this is a scenario that actually doesn't come up that often, really. It's only when you have a character that's really small on the screen, and which normally would be drawn somewhat simplified, so it would actually fill just as easily as stuff that's big on the screen. But a lot of these elements were actually drawn larger and then cut and pasted because I was moving the guys back in space and stuff like that. So that'll work. Wah! Wah! Alright. Have a holly jolly time. Alright, here's black. Once again, clickety, 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 click, 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 click. Stop saying click. Okay, okay. No problem. No problem, folks. I'm not going to say C-L-I-C-K anymore. Hey, Oxer, what's up? What is up? That's a good question. I tested OpenTunes 1.3 and I posted a note about it and talked a little bit on my video earlier today. You know what, dude? I did the Instacart thing. Well, or whatever the similar service is through Walmart. You can do it through Kroger. We have a Kroger around here in Walmart. And our shopping is sort of divided between the two. And it was really interesting because what I learned was once you drive around to where the pickup is and then have them go and get the cart that's got all your stuff on it and yada yada yada, it was I hate to say it, it was almost as slow as just going to the store and walking through. That was my experience. Others may disagree, and I am happy to know that they had a better experience than I did. But for me, the Instacart thing was kind of a bust, and I haven't done it since the one time I tried it. So, alright, now we got to do is eyes, skin, and a little bit of hand painting here. So hitting the P key so I can use the paintbrush and touch that up. K key to sample. The difference between the K key and the R key is that the R key samples the RGB value, the color, whereas the K key samples and then finds the palette entry that you just sampled, and it's a kind of a quick and dirty way to change colors. So if I go K, it actually selects the flesh tone palette entry, the skin, yada yada yada. You guys get it. You guys are smart. They have a Peapod, but the Instacart is cheaper. Huh. Yeah. That's a bummer about your tires, man. It's been so cold. Yeah, we just stayed in. We're just staying in. Huddling up. Avoiding going out. And, it's going to be over soon. Okay, so now I've just gotten two things happened on my phone. Two apparent notifications of some sort. What was that, I wonder? Let me find out. Convenience. I'm not in a rush. I'm going to go out and call my own concerns. Quality selection of the food. Well, one thing we have been doing that's been a win, though, I will say, is because we have Amazon Prime, we don't pay for shipping, and what we found is some of the things that we used to get at the grocery store that are in some cases cheaper on Amazon, and in some cases it's just a convenience thing, but we're just ordering stuff on Amazon that we used to buy when we went shopping. And that's been kind of a win. Okay, whoopsie poo, that's the wrong color, isn't it? Not sure I'm sold on this color, but I think that there are greater sins one could commit than having a less than stellar sword hilt color. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so I'm just going to hand paint that flesh tone right there. And I think we'll go to black. Fill tool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what I did, but some of the sketch lines snuck through here. That seems to be making it fill more poorly. No biggie. No biggie. It's just a little bit of a touch-up job. Whoops. Don't want to get that last one. Okay. So then we can just go in here like this and just do a little scrubby fix up. Okay, so here I want to select the skin and then go to the paintbrush and put that back. The fill operation kind of went topsy-turvy there, folks. Okay. K key to sample the black color that is going to be used. Boom, for Ninja number 1's gorgeous costuming. And that wrap color fill. Back to black. Boom, 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 boom. And back to leather here. And Ninja 1 or Ninja 2's hair, which is always pretty orange. Pretty orange. Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna like keep doing what I'm doing. I don't wanna do any shadowing yet. Here's the stupid reason why I don't want to do any shadowing. I'll show you something about this. Back here, where the shadows are on a separate layer, the problem is, since I'm working from the bottom up, if I add a drawing for the shadow, it's going to fill in this whole area in between with this drawing, which means I'm going to constantly have to go back and keep deleting cells. And at this point in history, I don't know a way to... Actually, there is a way. The way you do it is you draw something in an adjacent, like an empty frame, and then drag the cell over to the frame you're working in. That's actually a workaround for the problem I just described. Okay, hair. I'm going to go ahead and knock out his hair kind of across the across the board here, because that color is used very, very occasionally. And so, why is it leaking? Why did it leak, I wonder? Let's check the... And it says it's going to fill cleanly, but it won't. Now it's leaking down to here, so unfortunately this is kind of a bummer, but I'm going to have to trace this one around. This may be mysterious. This one is mysterious. I actually am not sure why this is leaking. Oh, well, no. This is leaking because of the... I mean, it's gonna leak because of that, but... Bummer, dude. Fill tool? Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna come back to that. Like I said, this color is not used for anything else, so if I can sort of retire it... Now, there it is again. Let's use the B key and close that up and see if it did it. That did it. Now this is something I mentioned earlier, is that OpenTunes seems to make a little bit of a distinction between how it treats the brush tool and the paintbrush in terms of detecting barriers for fill operations. And then when I sort of tested it, it looked like it actually was kind of doing the right thing, even with the paintbrush. But I don't know, I'm not certain. I got to remember to put these guys in the background on, or actually the other guys in the background. These three guys need to be in the background here. I'll probably just cut and paste them from that cell that I just looked at. So let's just go through here and see if Mr. Naruto hair shows up anywhere else. He does, but it looks like his hair has been mostly colored, so boom, boom. So yeah, we'll just get all his silly yellow hair out of the way. And I think at this point, since we're into shadows now, I think we're in good shape. Okay, cool. No more having to fiddle with his hair. Okay, I'm going to look at my messages now, because all of a sudden... Okay, they have a Peapod, but the Instacart... I think adding a save all, save as copy would be really helpful when making copies. Well, you're talking about levels, I assume, because obviously we have save all, and save all not only saves the project but also saves all the drawings, and I've never seen that fail, and it's worked perfectly for at least several months. I saw where it's leaking. Look at his ear again. Okay. Dodoki-chan, thank you. You're the best. Okay, look at his ear. Ah! Good call. Good call. Thank you. See? That's why I love you guys. I can be an idiot and still get by. Okay, back to work. I think group drawing, like grouping layers and other programs and applying colors to those groups. Yeah, that's getting into interesting territory. I don't know exactly what you mean, but I will say the sort of thing you're talking about seems to be the kind of thing that whenever I'm messing with OpenTunes, whatever I'm thinking I wish it did, I almost always can find that there's a way to do it. That's been true pretty much across the board. Certainly in the schematic view, you can do some interesting combining of layers for backup purposes, like other programs for the save as copy. Yeah, but I mean, why not just? You can just save your project under a time-stamped, or a different file name. Now, obviously, then you have the responsibility of reopening the actual project you're working on, or you continue working in that saved copy, and then the one that you were working on a moment ago effectively becomes the backup. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff where, to me, put it this way: whose responsibility is it to know where the hell you put your files? And I look at that as, whenever I depend on the program to do that stuff for me, it always seems to screw it up. And the secure saving mechanism that was supposed to make it impossible to lose your work winds up making you lose your work. Whereas when you just deal with it yourself and say, hey, look, it's my problem to know where my files are and back them up, then if there's a problem, it's my fault. And that's just, my experience has led me in that direction. Now, I do use some commonsensical, like I mentioned the other day, I use Backblaze, which, by the way, folks, I recommend this Backblaze. it it backs up everything. It's similar to Illustrator or Flash when you save a symbol. Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. What you're saying does make a lot of sense if you're working in a program that saves its files monolithically. In other words, the you know, like in Krita, or as you say in Flash, when you save a Flash file, everything in your project is saved. It's bundled into there. And some programs do it pretty smartly, like MyPaint, for example. If you if I remember correctly, if you open up an Aura file from MyPaint, and then you actually change the file name to zip, turns out it's just a zip file, and all of the layers in your Aura file are actually just pings bundled into the zip. Now that's a good way to do a monolithic file format, because then if you have to get to it, you can get to it. You know, if you and then you're correct, it would definitely be easier, because then when you save your project, you know, all the images and everything all get archived at that point. However, I do stand by my comment yesterday. If I really, really, really want to be safe, this is how I would do it. Okay? I would go into the anime folder, and I would go into the tunes folder. Actually, in my case, I would take all of this, and I would just take this entire folder, zip it up, and put it on a portable drive, and now I've got an archive of everything on this entire project, all the scenes, everything that I can restore anytime I need to. And I don't need OpenTunes to do a thing in order for me to be able to you know, save my work and get back to it. Now the thing about Backblaze is, I had mentioned before that I did have a situation a few days ago. I hear you, but it works in every other program and they have a save as copy. Yeah, okay. I mean, fair enough. It would be useful if we're going to have that feature. My sense is that I would want it to basically happen invisibly, like just every so often when it does an autosave, instead of, well, that's what Reaper does. You can set up Reaper so that instead of saving, well, what it does is it creates a time-stamped backup. So in other words, right now you can set up autosave in OpenTunes so that every 5 minutes or every 15 minutes this project gets saved. In Reaper, you can have it do that, but the preferred option would be your project is not autosaved, but when it does that autosave every 5 minutes, it actually saves the project under a different file name that's time-stamped. Whoops. Okay, that was stupid. And that seems to work pretty well. Okay, I just made a stupid mistake. Okay. Phil. Thank you. Who am I thanking? I'm talking to the wind here. So yeah. I mean, I have strong opinions about file saving architectures, if you will, for the simple reason that I have never lost critical data in 20 years. Well, actually 20, we're pushing 30. Basically since 1991, I have never lost critical data except 2 events. One, I should say I've only lost data 1 time, and I've only gotten a virus 1 time. Okay? So I kind of figured out a long time ago how to protect myself against stupid stuff. You know? The data loss was because I was hacking around with my own computer. I had it all ripped apart, and at the time I didn't know better than to do a low-level format of a drive that was causing a problem, and I invoked the low-level format inadvertently on the wrong drive. And promptly lost about 3 months of data. That was probably back in like 1997 or something. I haven't had a data loss since then. So, and I've always kind of taken responsibility for it myself. Not really depending on my programs to do the right thing. Some do. You know, there's some programs that are really seem to do the right thing most of the time. Reaper's one of them. If you're looking for a really solid audio workstation, get Reaper. It's cheap. I mean, if you get the personal license, it's like $60. When I bought it, I bought the pro license because I was so impressed. Okay, actually, this is an example of what I'm talking about. This has already been filled with paint, but there's no line here. So now when I do that, it fills the whole thing. So it's a little strange because when I've used the paintbrush to like fill in little gaps and stuff, it seems to make it so the fill tool works, which based on what I'm seeing here, it shouldn't work. So that's a little strange, but it looks like I have to go like that in order to create that barrier. So whatever. Not a horrible thing. Okay, where are we at? Okay, I can color an object in Illustrator or Flash or Photoshop. Hey, can I ask you guys a question, by the way? I've got a window open that has the live stream, and on my computer, that live stream is really blocky. Are you guys seeing it really blocky? Or is that just because on my computer I'm both streaming out and receiving it at the same time, and it's just downgrading for me as a quote-unquote viewer? The global color method in OpenToons is cool and similar in other colors, but you could group the character or object in XSheet to color that object globally one time. I see what you mean. Okay. So what you're saying is, I think what you're describing kind of assumes a puppet animation concept. So in other words, which you can do in OpenToons, because if you're going to do puppet animation, you're only going to draw the character once and color it once, and then you're going to rig it up with either the plastic tool or hooks or whatever you're going to use, the animate tool, link it together in the schematic or whatever, but then you're going to do puppet animation. So each drawing is only drawn one time, so therefore it only has to be colored one time. The problem, I think, with what you're describing is if I drew his hair again in another frame, OpenToons has no way of knowing that this is supposed to be the same character because it's just a bunch of pixels to the program. So maybe I'm misunderstanding the idea there. Probably am, actually. The closest OpenToons, I think, has to what you're describing would be the frame range. So when you're doing a fill operation, you specify a frame range, and when you click on the last frame, it fills all the frames in between based on, you know, just a linear progression. Well, correct. Yeah, see, I made a specific choice with this project, and it's the reason why I gravitated back away from the Blender grease pencil quite a while ago, is that I decided that a rigged, you know, an animation driven by rigging was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be more like a traditional anime where it's an animation driven by drawings. Even though you can do all kinds of puppet animation in OpenToons. If I was going to do a strict, like, I'll tell you what, one thing you want to, I recommend is the new Carmen Sandiego cartoon on Netflix. It's pretty well done, I gotta say. Now, from what little research I was able to do, it looks like they might be using Adobe Animate or Toon Boom Harmony, but it it's kind of like puppet animation on steroids. It's really well done. Which you can do in, say, Anime Studio. I mean, if you know how to use switch layers, you can set up a very complex rig that turns in, you know, all different directions. And I mean, if you like puppet-based animation, you know, with some flexibility, Anime Studio is a very, very solid solution. IMHO. Okay, that kind of worked, and I didn't expect it to, but that's cool. Boom. Okay. Again, same silly thing here. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. Control P. Now I got to use the B key to put a barrier right there. Yep. I think that worked. I don't know. Let's get the skin color. Yep, it did work. Yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of weirdness with the way OpenTunes kind of decides what constitutes a barrier for fill operations. What am I trying to do here? K key, P. But it's all good. This kind of... Okay, if everything's an object and the object is new, then you can do it anywhere you want. It has nothing to do with puppet animation. The color. I see. So there'd be some sort of metadata. That sounds like that's what you're talking about. You're talking about being able to tag any piece of your drawing with metadata that allows the program to know which character that's associated with and or what the associated color is. Kind of an interesting idea. I don't know. Am I am I understanding correctly? Give me a yay or a nay if I'm understanding your concept there. Boom. Boom. Okay. Casio OpenTunes. But I know what the problem is. Oops, I need to go B key. Go like that, and I think I've got a leak right there to fill that. Oh yeah, I got it. I did. Alright, so now I gotta actually do a little bit of hand painting here because this is a little bit frenetic. And K key to sample that. Little bit of touch up and fill that. And actually, I think I'm going to take the paintbrush and reinforce his eyebrows just a little bit. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Aha! I missed something. Okay, I missed two somethings. Ah, shoot. Alright. Guess I need to slow down a little bit. Where's my martini? It's getting to be... it's only 5 o'clock. I guess it's not martini time. I think it's like an association in my mind when I'm doing afternoon animating or, you know, like evening animating. I've had a martini available sufficiently enough times that I've sort of become dependent on that doggone martini. Okay, so B key and a little bit of a cheat here. That'll work. And frankly, the same silliness here. Oh wait, gotta put the top of the sandal. Okay, to simplify, if you used a smart layer symbol before, what I'm saying is the same thing. I don't know. My sense is that what you're describing, the thing is, I've seen this happen so many times that I sort of you know, I could be wrong, but my gut reaction is this idea of having sort of a, you know, as you say, smart objects and all that sort of thing. My guess is that in practice, it would often turn out to be more work trying to set it all up so it works than to just, you know, draw another picture or color it in the hard way. It's like me doing this painting with the paintbrush. Yeah, I could fight with the fill tool and I could switch it into freehand mode. I mean, you know, there's a lot of ways that I could skin that cat, so to speak. But what actually seems to be the fastest is just hand paint it, you know, and keep moving forward. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a problem here with a leak. So I'm going to go to color 0. Oh, that did the trick. So cool. You paint one object and you can modify the color into infinity, but you make it easy to implement. It would have to be vectors so you can mathematically set a range to color an object. Right. I'm sure. I'm still not seeing the value though, because I mean you can already create vector-based objects and then manipulate them to your heart's content, including move the nodes around even after it's colored. And if you're careful, it will hold together. Now, OpenToonz is not the strongest program ever when it comes to dealing gracefully with its vectors being manipulated. The vectors tend to break, and the fills go haywire. Although that's been improving with every version, I will say. So, let's see. We're gonna fill in her nightie, and I'm gonna put some highlight on that when I do the highlights and shadows. I'll just shadow that too. Although actually, just because I can, I might as well do this. Actually, I think I'm gonna use the hair color. Yeah, that's better. What do you think? Yes? No? No. I'm just gonna leave it like that and do it with the well, the other thing about these ideas, let me share one idea I've had, okay? That I think would be good in OpenToonz. Alright, I'm going to show you guys an idea here that I actually think would be extremely useful. Okay, and here's the idea. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and also thinking about, darn it, just maybe messaging the developers and saying, hey, what about this? Okay, so the idea would be, if the G key, instead, the arc tool, I think for doing inking is very useful. Click, click, and then create an arc. Okay? And then presumably, you know, continue with that as you see fit. Okay? So I want a tool called PolyArc. And what would PolyArc do? PolyArc would go click, click, curve, and now the mouse would automatically start another arc at that point right there where I left off. So I could do this, like, and now when I move my mouse, it would draw another straight line as if I had already clicked here. And I just go until I'm done, and I hit enter when I want to accept it, or I hit escape to cancel the whole thing, something like that. But I think the PolyArc tool would be extremely useful for inking. You know, it really would give you some precision. Okay, this is technically kind of hogwash, but I never really, I never really specified what exactly she is wearing that sort of constitutes these slippers, so I have no idea what color that's even supposed to be, because I don't think I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, this is what I think you're saying. Okay. Where the heck did it just create that? I guess we're on. Okay, so if I create this object, And let's just make it complicated because it's fun to be complicated. Okay, and now I go back here and I go CVV, V, and I'm going to make this several different colors. Okay, and now I'm going to go fill, and okay, unfortunately we've already bumped into a problem with the filling. There's Y, so I'm going to hit the C key, I'm going to extend that up to there so it closes the shape, and probably, still didn't work. So this is actually why I never ever use OpenToon's vectors really too much, although I've fiddled with them and I thought they were going to be good for inking. But let's just keep following this through. Okay, so now we've got this object. Alright, and now I'm going to stretch this down here, and presumably I should be able to grab this with the S key and maybe morph it like this, you know, do whatever. And actually, if I had been smart, I would have hit the D key, so it goes ahead and creates another drawing. And so I can do all kinds of funky stuff with this vector art, and presumably it would retain its identity. Now, OpenToon's is already sufficiently unstable in the sense that it does not do a very good job of remembering, because you can see we lost our blue here. And the reason we lost our blue is simply because probably when I stretched it, it stretched it enough that it disconnected a little bit, as it appears to have right here. Okay, and when that happens, it's kind of hard to fix. Did I fix it? Let's find out. I did. Okay, so the problem with this object-based approach in OpenToon's is the very underlying architecture of how it keeps track of all this stuff is kind of winky to begin with. So I just don't use it. There are things I do use vectors for, but not much. Because the only compelling thing about vectors, in my view, has ever been basically scalability and editability. And for some situations that's useful. I mean, if you're pretty clear on what you intend to draw, though, so you're not planning to, you know, draw a character and then change your mind later and go, well, it's going to be a whole different look, and now we're assuming that we can in fact modify the existing character to be the new character that it's supposed to be. If all those things were true and the stars lined up, then it'd be like, okay, it'd be kind of useful to take that character and be able to change it and have it sort of retain its identity as objects and thus retain its color. But my experience seems to be that by the time you're done fighting with a system that's supposed to work that way but never quite works as advertised, you know, you could have just drawn the thing 365,000 times and produced an anime. I know, I'm being snarky, but that's interesting. Oh, I see, that's his foot. Duh. Alright, I'm just going to be liberal here and give that a leather color. So, yeah, maybe it would work. And if other programs already do this, we'd just be applying the same code to OpenToon's. I don't know. Under the hood, programmatically, I would have to say mainly pixels are easier just because... Oops, that was wrong. Pixels are easier in the sense that you're just dealing with a dumb grid. You're dealing with a grid of pixels. So there's no concept of things. Like, the program doesn't know what that mess of pixels represents. OpenToon's doesn't know that this is a woman kicking a guy in the noids, right? With vectors, to an extent, you sort of have the ability to build that intelligence in. I mean, you could do it with pixels too, but I'm saying it is true that generally programs that take a object-centric approach versus a drawing-centric approach tend to be programs that are vector-oriented. I think that's a safe statement. Like Flash, like Toon Boom, ARG, like, quite frankly, the Blender grease pencil. Oh shoot, I just got all kinds of leaks going on, don't I? Well, I can see why. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one. For me, the whole AI thing is a bit of a bust. That's just a whole nother topic, man. Alright, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do a little bit of cleaning up here. Where is the hair tie? There it is. I'm just going to do this by hand. So yeah, forgive me for being a bit of a Mr. Know-It-All. I'm not really trying to be. Oh, that's her nightie. Let's see. Ah, I can't believe it. I can't believe it filled cleanly. I thought for sure that was going to bleed. Well, look at this. What are we going to do about this? I mean, come on. Are we going to satisfy with this? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I'm just going to fix it. So this is actually one of the things I like about sort of just a drawing centric approach is it's just, I don't know, it's close to the metal, you might say. If you have to fix something, you just get in and do it. Well, they do have it in the vector levels. The vector levels have a gap detection. I'm not saying it works, you know, fabulously, but I think it works pretty well. I'd probably use it if I was using vectors much. I started using vectors actually on this project, and you know, it kind of lasted 2 days, and I'm like, you know, this is starting to turn into more problems than it was worth. I have a feeling that that's because of the pedigree of the program. I think if you follow Toons back through its history, my suspicion is that the Toons raster level is a very old, mature part of the program, whereas I think the vectors are a more recent addition and they're a little bit more buggy and whatnot. Okay, I'm gonna actually I am gonna actually object. That's what I'm gonna do to the fact that this is leaking like a sieve. Okay, what do I want to do here? Do you want to do that? I think what I'll do is give this the same color as the blades and maybe touch it up. Oh, that didn't work. Maybe touch it up in the shadow step. Yeah, I think that's the right choice. Nightie and Iris. Boom. Boom. Eyes. Boom. Boom. Skin. Nice. I'm clicking with my mouse right now. You do that after a while, though, it starts to give you a carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that. Alright, hair tie. A little bit of a paintbrush action right there. And I hate to do it to you, Akari, but I told you I'm going to delete your mouth. I wonder if I've forgotten to delete her mouth anywhere, because I'm moving quick. And we don't really see her mouth there. It's going to be fun to have her get through the rest of this fight with her nightie. She's got to hold her nightie up and keep it from splitting more in the back while she's carrying on this battle. So should be interesting for the poor girl. Alright, where are we at? Black? Okay. I'm starting to be tempted to be lazy here. I think what we'll do, I guess we'll just do it like that in this case. And technically, I guess we need a line there. And I'm going to cheat on this one because he's really in motion. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Again, we're working backwards, so K key. Other programs that have that feature, it should not be that difficult. Well, you know, make a suggestion to the devs. Maybe they'll do it. And an auto close checkbox when drawing, yeah. I agree with you. When it's well implemented, it's very useful. As I said, I think that the vectors already have it. So tunes vector level. Back up here at the top, B key. So that's not closed. If I try to fill it, it's choking. But if I make the maximum gap huge, yeah, it still won't do it. See, this is what I found is that it's just not that good. All right? So it's like by the time it works, you have to have it so close that, you know, you might as well have drawn it correctly. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where it's like, you know, it looks really good on paper. Doesn't come in nearly as handy, I think, as people would maybe think it would. That's, again, I'm not trying to be Mr. all opinionated here or anything, but you just saw it in living color. I tried to use the gap feature and it didn't work that well. It just didn't work that well. Let's do a fill here, and then we'll paintbrush the edges, or the corners, or the thin areas. Actually, frankly, that should be filled as well. Yeah. Well, Clip Studio, like I said, I find its interface inscrutable, but I've never really like knocked myself out to sort of like get used to it. I haven't gone through the learning curve with Clip Studio like I have with OpenTunes. I've paid the price with OpenTunes. So there's, you know, I kind of know how to do things. Not everything. There's some stuff in here that other people use that I kind of don't. I sort of have a certain selection of features I tend to gravitate toward and ignore the rest, definitely. Alright, so we're going to do this. Just paint that in. And I guess as long as I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and paint all of these, just so it's done. Because it's kind of a sketchy situation, obviously. Very sketchy. Let's see if we can fill that. I don't know. Not sure if it got it. Oops. My bad. Well, I don't know if I'm the boss, that's for sure. James Brown may be the boss. I'm not the boss. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy doing what I do, man. Just doing what I do. You know, I used to be quite the Blender guru, but like I was saying in my video a few days ago, I sort of checked out on the whole 3D thing some time ago, and the grease pencil thing was cool, but it wasn't cool enough to really get me to commit to that approach. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, you're a pretty good artist, Oxer, so I mean, don't you think that to some extent it's just faster to be able to draw well, you know? I mean, to me that's what I've arrived at. Just learn to draw. In your case, you're a pretty good artist. You don't need to learn to draw, you know, so it's just like, just do it and deal with the little flaws and winky parts when you bump into them. You know, that's kind of what I'm doing. I've thought, believe me, man, I've thought more times than I can tell you about going ahead and building OpenTunes and maybe getting involved in the development. You know, I mean, I'm a pretty accomplished C++ programmer, and I've worked with Qt. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm more interested in doing this project. This is what I want to do right now, and not get sidetracked with something else. So I really went into 2019 determined that this is what I'm going to do in 2019. You know, my business is pretty much running itself with a little maintenance, you know. Business is fine. There's money in the bank, you know. I'm going to work on this. This is what I'm doing. And others can do what they want to do, but this is what I'm going to do. So, my relatives probably think it's you. They're like, you're going to what? You're making an anime? What? What? That's cool. Everybody's got their thing. And, you know, I may get downstream here a bit and decide that, you know what, this isn't as fun as I thought. I may run into some roadblocks that make the business side of it prohibitive, although I kind of doubt that's going to happen. I'm fairly optimistic about the ability to, you know, find a market or a benefactor, you know, a distributor or a platform or a network that is interested in what I'm doing. I think that's probably going to happen. I think if the product's good, generally the market finds you, actually. But I might be wrong. I might be totally goofered on that particular point. Okay, as long as we're having all kinds of fun with flesh tones, why don't we take the opposite approach that I've been doing, and let's do it that way for a while. Let's go and just fill in flesh tones for a bit. Okay, if we're going to do that, then we got to backtrack a little bit. Let's see. Thanks for the compliment. We're all still learning. No, I mean, I really thought your animation that you sent me, the core thing, obviously it's an animatic. Okay? It's an animatic for the most part. But the key thing that could be cool about it is cool about it. In other words, all the swirly stuff and lights and effects, you haven't done that yet. But I can tell where you're going with it. But what's important, what makes someone look at it and go, wow, you know, this guy's got some talent, is the character. And I think the character was well done. You know, she your anatomy's pretty good. You know, so it'll be interesting to see where you go with it, you know. Unfortunately, I have to keep repairing this little section. And I think with animation, that is usually the unfortunately, I don't want to say characters, and I don't want to say drawing, I don't want to say anatomy, I want to say characterization. You know, because look, if I go like this, okay, and I draw this guy, okay, and then I just do a really simple animation with this guy like this, you know, and now I want to make it like a lot of the stuff you see nowadays on, say, Cartoon Network. So I'm going to give him little arms like this, okay. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that in recent years is what's, you know, probably gotten popular, you might say. I mean, not everything, but I mean, there's a lot of those kinds of, you know, I can do that. I don't particularly want to right now, you know. But my point is that type of a, you can have a fairly goofy drawing with absolutely no ability to draw anatomy that still has great characterization. So that's what I'm saying, is characterization, the ability to sort of bring it to life and make it move in a way that makes you laugh, or that's the thing. And that's what we're trying to do. I'll tell you what, Oxer, it was hard. Getting it to be a habit was hard. I'll tell you, I'm going to reveal my soul. Okay, the hardest thing about this whole thing was waking up, and this speaks right to some of the things we've talked about here today, is I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm spending all this time dicking around with different software, and I realized there is no magic bullet. Just get busy. Start doing it. Quit thinking about it. Do it. And then see what problems crop up. See what you bump into that makes it difficult. But don't work with the tools with a mind, with a sort of a theoretical mindset, like ideally it would work this way or that way. And then get pissed when it doesn't, or when it's buggy or whatever, which is what I was doing. And you know, I spent a lot of time messing around. Do I really want to do this? And I thought, you know, I don't want to do it unless it's going to be fun. So I think that that's legit. It's legit to say I don't want to do it unless it's going to be fun. But there was a point I reached, probably back around November, where I said, okay, I don't know, it might have been earlier than November, but I reached a point where I said, okay, enough. It's time to go or blow. Either do it or don't do it. And so I just started doing it, and I decided I'm gonna be a little more disciplined, and you know, every creative person I respect, I mentioned a couple earlier in an earlier video, I think today, I mentioned Mike Post, Steve Cannell, Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby. What do those guys all have in common? Number one, they were all mediocre, basically. Now, you can argue whether they were mediocre. Kirby, it was amazing in some ways, and yada, yada, yada. There's things about them that were great. But in total, they were just okay. They weren't elite. They were brickwork guys. They were doing it, right? And so, I mean, look at these stories that Stan and Jack cranked out before the Fantastic Four thing happened. It was a lot of crap. But that's where they learned the craft, you know, is by cranking it out. There wasn't a lot of time to think about it. You know, you got a publisher that expects you to turn out a product this month. You know, well, I don't like the texture of my paper that I'm using. Wah, wah, wah. No. You didn't have that. And so I realized I was being a little bit of one of those wham 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 guys, and I'm like, okay. So as near as my common sense could guide me, it seemed to me that for what I was wanting to do, the best tool available appeared to be OpenTunes. Okay, and that's compared to professional tools too, because, you know, like I said, I've got Clip Studio, I've got Anime Studio, I've tried Toon Boom, of course there's Blender, and I just looking at everything I wanted to do and what works for me psychologically in terms of a workflow that I enjoy, this seemed to be the right tool for me to go ahead and dive in and suffer through the process of A, learning it, and B, understanding, you know, it's got some bugs, it's got some weird stuff, but, you know, work with it, deal with it. And so that's what I did. And this was several months ago. And the basic result is that things got a lot more productive once I quit worrying about changing it or wishing for this or that and just got busy with, let's just go. Let's deal with problems when they actually happen, not think about what the ideal way it would work or whatever. And then working that way, what I found was a lot of times the fastest solution to any problem is just redraw the damn thing. Just redraw it. Which meant for me, I need to be able to draw. Hey, Darren. I gotta tell you guys, I mean, you look at this sequence right here. Look at the characterization of her body, okay? And then here as well. Dudes, I'm telling you, 6 months ago, I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it. I tried. I was doing a lot of drawing and also portraiture and things like that. I couldn't have done it. I could not have captured this feminine, you can see it. I don't know what you call it, but we all know what it is when we see it. I couldn't do this 6 months ago. And the only reason I can do it now is because I just kept drawing. I just said, you know, I don't care about the software. I'm going to find a way. Go. And that's what I tell my son. I tell him that your goal is to make as many crappy drawings as fast as you can. Your goal is to fail as spectacularly as possible. Because if you fail spectacularly, you will learn, and you will improve, and you will develop your craft. And that's actually what he's doing, and it's really funny because in a very short period of time, and I didn't push him at all. It was just like something he started doing. You know, I think I mentioned in another video, he's like getting commissions from kids at school. They're like paying him $20, you know, to make a caricature of them. His school friends are paying him to draw it. It's like, I'm like, dude, you're a pro now. You're already a professional, and you've been at it for what, like, you know, a couple months or whatever? Exactly. Fail hard and fail fast. Because A, you will learn and improve, and B, there's no other way. You will learn and you will improve, and there's no other way. So therefore, it doesn't do any good to talk about it. I mean, obviously, I talk about it when I'm sitting here on YouTube talking, but it doesn't do any good to talk about this stuff. Our artistry, it's like composing. You guys want to hear what I composed this week? Do you want to hear what I composed this week? All right, I'll show you what I composed this week. Hang on, I'll pull this up. You guys will probably... actually, let's do it this way. This was a commercial client. Music, projects, and I can't reveal the name. Okay, this is what I did this week. Doesn't seem to be playing back. Oh, sorry. I've got the wrong headset on. As I said, you get the idea. But man, I tell you, I don't. And that was done really fast. I mean, most of that was the sound design and the composition was all done in just a couple hours. And then they'd come back and the client would have changes, and I'm like 45 minutes later, I'm getting the changes done. You know, I don't believe I could have done that a couple years ago. But you know, that's why when I've written, and I've joked to friends that the reason I started making movies is so that I'd have an excuse to score them. And there's actually a lot of truth to that. You know, it put me in a position. No, I did it with Reaper. Reaper, dude. Reaper's like the absolute bomb. This is what you want. Okay, this is actually an old version. As a matter of fact, I'm using, this isn't the latest version, but this particular project, let's see if it's going to load right now. I've changed some configurations the last couple days because most of this was done in the studio, and it seems to be choking on loading the project right now. But and I don't want to sit here and like mess around with it on YouTube. I'll try it one more time just for kicks and giggles. Let's just go back to an early version and see. Actually, let's try that. I'm curious if this will load. It seems to be. So this project has, I mean, this is just the sound effect side of it. This is not the music side of it. There's actually, this is one cool thing about Reaper is you can have a whole timeline with two different projects, and I split it into two projects so I could keep all the instruments and sounds in one page in effect, and it'll play them back in perfect sync, you know, sample accurate. So, but yeah, I've been using Reaper for, I mean, you can see what a mess this is. I mean, all these sound effects that I can't, for reasons I won't get into, I can't play this timeline and have you guys hear it. But you know, there's just hundreds of whooshes and stabs, and then in the other project that runs in sync with it, there's an orchestra. You know, the brass and the strings and all the rest. You know, and it's cool, man. It's a lot of fun. And you know, it helps pay the bills too. So, but yeah, I had to learn. You know, I just learned to score because I wanted to. I'm like, this is cool. I want to do it. So and I don't think I'm particularly talented at it, honestly. Well, and Audacity is good, but I don't think Audacity has MIDI. Maybe it does now. I don't know. I don't follow Audacity really. Here we go. Now we're back on track. But yeah, Reaper, the commercial license, I'll tell you what happened. I was using it, and I had a problem with a project. This was probably 8 years ago, something like that. And because the program had a text-based file format, which OpenTunes does too, but OpenTunes is XML and it's a little bit inscrutable. It's not easy to go into an OpenTunes file and change things, reopen it, and have OpenTunes open it up and have it be what you thought you were doing when you changed the XML file. Reaper's the opposite. With Reaper, you can pretty much look down through the file and figure out what's going on. And I was able to solve a major problem in a project by editing the text file that Reaper, that's, you know, the native format it saves its projects in. And I was so impressed with that that I paid the Reaper guys the full commercial license for the program, you know, and that was, like I said, that was quite a while. It's like $250 or something for the commercial license. It's not even that much money, but the regular personal license, is like $60. You know, I mean, here's a really capable, and it's not crippled in any way. There's no difference between the commercial version of Reaper and the personal version. No difference at all. The only difference is the price. And I really like Justin Frankel too. As far as software developers, he's a solid guy. He's the guy who created Winamp back in the 90s. I mean, it's essentially a one-man operation as far as the software development goes. And he's just a really, you know, he's a neat guy and he's a darn good programmer. So, fill that. Okay. Now we're getting into these evil dudes. Since we're doing flesh tone, let's do lots of flesh tone. This guy in the back is basically Spider-Man. Yeah, Winamp. I don't know this, but I would venture to say that Winamp is probably a respectable media player even now. I don't know if it's still being maintained at all. Justin's been doing Reaper for like 10 years. Why the heck is this not inked? Okay. Did I not ink this? Maybe I postponed inking it. That's funny. Let me see. Let me go to my lines here and see what happens when I do this. Okay, nothing happens other than that little tiny bit. So it appears that this needs to be inked. So here's how I'm going to do it. You guys are going to see some real problem solving right now in real time. Here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we want to take this sketch and move it off to a different palette entry. Okay? So just for the fun of it, I'm going to move it all to color 8. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a fill operation in rectangle mode. And I'm going to do... Wait, I don't think I want to use that color because... Is that got auto paint from? No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's cool. We'll do fuchsia. Alright. And... Sorry, I don't want areas, I want lines. So now I'm going to just go like that. And it didn't work. Okay, so what just happened? Oh, I see. There it is. I'm sorry, this is my stupidity. The sketch is over here in a different level. And so I think what we need to do in order to not go nuts here is let's turn down the opacity. And oh my goodness, lo and behold, okay, I am an idiot. I'm going to turn that level off, and it turns out I did ink it. Why couldn't I see the ink lines? Okay, so I'm stupid. So now I'm going to just go like this and do the same thing again. It moves all the lines back into the correct color. So yeah, I guess I did ink it. I thought I remembered inking it. Freaking out here, folks. Okay, so now I am going to actually just delete these cells. There's literally no reason for them to be in there, and it's just causing me grief. So, back to wherever I am. Ba-do-do-do-ba-do. Okay, cool. So now, did anything else? Alright, later, Oxer. I think I probably missed. You're probably gone already. I about to hit this Chicago Hawk. Oxer's in Chicago. And I'm going to tell you, it's cold in Chicago. It's cold in Fort Wayne, too. So now we're filling areas, normal mode, skin. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, she is pretty. She is pretty. I like Akari. She's my most favorite character that I've drawn today. Ah, shoot. She's got the moves. All right, there, and there. She's tough too. I tell you, she's a tough cookie. There's a whole epic story surrounding this girl. Ah, there's the problem. Actually, I'm gonna do a little erasing here too. And let's just go ahead and do this properly. Okay, but yeah, there's quite a cool story around this girl that I can't reveal now. I can't reveal it. It's a secret. Boom. No legs in that picture. Oh, I forgot her ear. Look at that. So I got to hit the B key and create a little barrier there for the lines, or for the fill area. Okay. Fill, 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 fill. Arg! Where's it leaking? I can see where it's leaking right there. Fill. Okay. Good to go. Boom, boom, boom. Uh-oh. Got another leak. And that leak would probably be right there and there. Cool. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So I've got 6 people watching now. That's kind of cool. I assume probably maybe Darren T is one of them. Who are you people? What are you interested in? How could my channel improve? I'm curious about that. Since there's 6 people watching, somebody must have an opinion. What am I not doing on YouTube that you wish I was doing? Post a comment. I think I've thought about, well, the video I did it in the Blender grease pencil, so that skews my results. But when I did a video in the Blender grease pencil, Blender 2.8 actually, drawing All Might from My Hero Academia, that video's gotten 10 times as many views as like anything else I've done in recent memory. So what I don't know is, do people want to see, hey, here's how you draw XYZ character? Or do people want to see, what are you doing with the Blender grease pencil? Frankly, I think it's the Blender grease pencil is the reason that it got the views. But I could be wrong. So if you have an opinion about that, feel free to share. Oh, I forgot about this guy, so... Yep, here we go. Squirt, squirt, squirt. Cool beans. Lots of flesh tone. Lots of flesh. Ah! And I sprung a leak. Right there. Yep. Oh, I sprung another leak. Right there. Okay. And remember, I'm hitting the Alt key so that I can just drag and it makes that bigger. But the eraser makes the eraser bigger. I am choosing to erase all of her mouths so that we can go ahead and put the mouth on a separate layer. Tis what 'tis. So no one wants to express an opinion in regard to the question I just asked. Come on, guys. Help me out here. So I've thought, okay, like lately I've been watching Gintama. Now, season 2, it's starting to be not as good, I think, so I'm probably not going to keep going with it, but you know, I've thought, geez, maybe I should just, like, as an exercise for myself, grab some, okay, I think I have a problem here, I do, grab some character in a popular anime and just maybe not only draw them, but maybe draw them and even animate them a little bit, kind of like in the style of that anime or something like that. I've thought, yeah, that might be fun. People might enjoy that. Whoops. Tell you what, let's go like that and like that. Fill. Like I said, well, and the one I did, I actually did one from Little Witch Academia. Oh, okay. I like seeing the process of the animations and your storyboard. Okay, so can you expand on that answer, Dodoki-chan? Do you mean that what I'm doing right now is comparatively boring? And believe me, I won't be offended if you tell me it is, because I would expect it to be. This is not the most interesting thing in the world to watch, I'm sure. But when you say I like seeing the process of your animations, you mean you like seeing what I'm usually doing here, which is my animation? And then do you mean that in particular you like it when maybe when things move fast, like I'm going through and sketching these storyboards and getting the action and the animation figured out? Is that what you mean? So yeah, if you can expand that answer, that would be super helpful. I think I got the gap. Nope, I didn't. I still have some leaks going on here. Let's see what doesn't leak. Okay, so I'm going to have to zoom in here, unfortunately, and inspect. Aha! Boom! Let's just make sure. Okay, now I think it's going to fill. Yep. Ta-da! I'll have to go in and fix our eyes manually, but that's no big deal. Okay, boom, boom. Boom. Ah, come on, really? No, it's not all boring. Okay. So you like me doing my thing. You like basically what I've been doing. Okay. And by the way, I'm not saying I want to stop doing that either. I'm just saying that I've just thought maybe it would okay, put it this way. I did not set out to grow a YouTube channel / audience. And I certainly thought initially that the last thing I wanted to do was what I see a lot of other people doing, which is sort of morph a channel like this into like a premium membership thing where you can learn to be an animator and all this stuff. And I sort of had more the attitude of, you know what, I don't even care. I'm just kind of doing my thing and having fun, and if people want to watch it, that's cool. But I've thought about it. I've thought, well, maybe I should try to grow the thing and let the YouTube channel be a thing. I mean, I look at okay, actually, I want to be careful here. I want to be very careful what I say. Okay, there is another guy on YouTube that has a YouTube channel that is devoted to teaching this, exactly what I'm doing here. Traditional animation. You know, the kind that you draw. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, my viewers, a little secret. I honestly, and I'm not going to name the guy. You can maybe go out on YouTube and try to figure out who it is if you want. But the thing is, I was subscribed to this channel, and there's two things about it that bugged me a little bit. Number one, the guy, honestly, his professional cred is as a storyboard artist, and the truth is he's actually not that great of an animator. If he was that great of an animator, he'd probably be working animating, not teaching it on YouTube, is probably the truth of the matter. So the fact that he's just okay at what he's doing was kind of like, you know, but there's some good stuff there, you know, so it's like I subscribe to his channel or whatever. So one time he's live streaming. This guy's live streaming. And I'll tell you what happened. He showed a video that illustrated what he was going to teach that day, okay? And the reality is that the video, what he had animated, actually had quite a few problems. There were, in other words, if you were in a real professional environment, it would not have been acceptable. Your director would have said, go back and fix this and this and this and this. It just wasn't that great. Well, the guy was live streaming, and I said, and I made the really big mistake of making a comment. I said, your animation is floating too much. In other words, the character doesn't seem anchored on the ground. They're kind of, it'd be like, have you ever seen an animation? You see it a lot in games and stuff because they use mocap, and the characters are always going like this. They're moving all the time. Well, real people don't move that way. Real characters that are well animated don't move that way. They go into a pose, and then they hold. They give the audience time to digest what they're seeing. Now, I know this to be true because I have had to direct actors on a movie set and educate them about comedic timing so that we could get the performance that we needed. I know about comedic timing. I really do, you know, from directing feature films. So anyway, so this translates directly to the world of animation. So as I say, this guy's live streaming, and he's showing this thing that ostensibly is an example for all his students to emulate, and I'm going, well, actually, there's a little bit of a problem here. And I, as graciously as I could, I pointed out this issue. And the guy unloaded on me. He singled me out as, like, you guys are all in the comments here in the chat thing. He singles out my name and basically starts saying, you know, how there's some people that come here and they want to get all kinds of attention, and they always want to criticize this sort of thing. He really had a bad reaction. And the truth is, I was actually trying to help him. I know that's naive and stupid. Believe me, I know it's completely naive and stupid to think that he would have responded well to that. But the truth is that what was wrong with his animation was wrong with his animation. He's not that good of an animator, is the truth. I didn't say that. I wasn't going to say that. I wouldn't want to say that. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. But this guy could not handle someone coming along and saying, well, actually, what you're doing here, you know, it's maybe you still have some things to learn. It blew my mind. It was a real education for me. I'm like, okay, you don't want to ever tell some people the truth. Now, if somebody looks at what I'm doing here, and you see something, and this has happened, by the way. Darren, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I'll give you a hint. It starts with the letter A. Anyway, and the guy's pretty good. He's not great, but he is pretty good. And frankly, if it wasn't for this story that I'm telling, I would recommend for my viewers to go subscribe to his channel, because there is a lot you can learn from this guy. And I really compliment him. He's done very well with his YouTube channel. I think that's quite admirable. And like I said, he is pretty good, but he's not great. And that's okay. You don't have to be great. You know, you don't have to be great to make a living, for example. I mean, if you go to jingles.us, jingles.us, do I need to write that down? Jingles.us. Okay? You're going to find an MP, that's my commercial media site. It's one of them. And you're going to find an MP3 there where you can hear about a 2-minute demo of musical radio jingles, which I've written all of them. I've played all the instruments. I've done almost all of the vocals. And, you know, but I'm not great. I mean, I've picked a, you know, I've done local jingles on local radio. I've never done a national jingle. You know, I've never done anything that you could really brag about. But if you listen to it, you'll go, well, you know, actually the writing is pretty good. The vocals are pretty good. You know, you don't have to be the best guy in the world to get by and have fun and make a good living and all the rest. And I think that that's an important point to make, because a lot of people that are creative hesitate to try to just go and do it, because they think I've got to get to this level or that level before I can either do it or be successful. It's all bullshit. The world is full, basically, of mediocrity. You know, hey, Zipkey. You know, most people are actually mediocre at what they do. You know, you show me 10 lawyers. You show me 10 doctors. You show me 10 doctors. I'm going to show you one who's a butcher. I'm going to show you one who's superb. And I'm going to show you 8 who are just average people. They're not studying the medical journals every month. There are guys who do that, but most don't. Most people don't knock themselves out trying to be excellent, actually. And that's okay. The state of the art in most areas, or arenas, I guess I would say, is not elite level. So my point is that if you want to do whatever you want to do, you don't need permission. Just do it. You set the standard, and if you want the standard to be high, then set your own standard high and attain to it on your own. You know, this problem, and I say this as a guy I've suffered from all of these afflictions in my own life, of this sense that you need permission to do what you either dream about doing or want to do. You know, you don't need permission. You don't really need much except the will to try. And then just do it and see how it goes. This is what I tell my son. I tell him a very important thing I tell my son is that whatever you decide to do, if you get 2 years down the road and you decide, you know, I think I was wrong. I think I want to change my mind. I think that's not my thing. I tell him, you know what? That's okay. You can change your mind 50 times if you want. It doesn't matter. Whoops. It's perfectly okay for you to not know what you want to do. It's perfectly okay to change your mind over and over. No one else has the right to judge you for that. It's your life, not their life. So if you're a young person and your parents, I don't want to draw a rift between people and their parents, but basically, it will not be long before it will be painfully evident to you that your life is your life. And at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you to decide what you do, not them. But, of course, I speak from the standpoint of, you know, one would hope you would all have good relationships with your significant others, and they would be really supportive. in my experience, a lot of parents struggle with being supportive. Partly because they're living out their life vicariously through their children. And so there's a certain amount of ego involved in that. It's pretty crazy, actually. Some of the goofy things parents do to screw up their kids. It's just goofy. You know, I had some challenges as a young person, and I have to say that informed some of my decisions about how I decided to parent. Definitely. Let's see here. Okay, this is going to go to the close-up, so we've got to get this filled in here, and I got a definite bad line here. So, I don't know, maybe I'm boring all you people, and all this stuff doesn't mean anything to you, but right. And his rants are fun, though. I mean, that's, you know, to an extent, when I watch, or yeah, when I tune into a YouTube channel, a lot of times it's actually the personalities involved are part of the reason why you go there. And I don't know how I write in that regard, but the guy we're talking about is fun to listen to, actually, and he's very passionate about what he does, and I respect that. I just made the mistake of telling him that his work had room for improvement, and I just shouldn't have done that. That was a strategic error. And but I don't hold a grudge. In fact, I unsubscribed initially because I thought, I don't know if I really want to be here. But then after a while, I went ahead and resubscribed to him because I actually enjoy his channel, and I think he's got some good stuff going on. Okay, I think we're in pretty good shape here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip back up here. I can't believe I've been going for almost 2 hours. I'm going to keep rocking. So now what I'm basically doing is I'm going to pretty much finish out these frames as we go. So that means I'm going to hit the B key here to create a drawing in the shadow layer, and then I want to select my shadow color, and basically I'm just going to put the appropriate shadow behind Akari. And I probably should do this as well. The light is coming in this way from the moonlight outside, so I'm going to just I think I want to keep this simple. I may rethink this because this guy's walking in, and so I'm gonna the shadow and this guy are gonna conflict with each other. I already know that's gonna happen, but let's just kind of roll with it here and see how it goes. Zip key. It's an animation. What we have. If you guys don't mind, I'll do a quick recap of just this scene. Well, actually, let me run this really quick. Okay, so this is basically what's done. So this stuff is pretty much complete. And then when you get to this part, this needs a little bit of post-production done, and then that basically brings you to this point. And this is essentially an animatic where I'm now doing the shadows and the color and the backgrounds, and then I'll go ahead and time it out so that, you know, it looks like a proper you know, anime. So that, well, it's interesting you say that, Darren, because I did not know. I honestly will tell you, I did not know that happens often. I truly did not know that. And in a way, it's encouraging to know that it does happen more often, because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me, and it wasn't about my comment. You know, that's just how that guy rolls. I mean, my feeling is this. I guess this is what got me talking about teaching and children and all this stuff. is if somebody comes on here, first of all, if you're my fan on my YouTube channel or you're watching me, I don't know anything about you. I don't know how old you are, basically. I don't know what your skills or talents are. But if you say to me, I said this earlier, is this did happen. This happened, I don't know, it was a month ago or something, on this very channel, where one of the people watching me live stream gave me a suggestion that she thought would improve the animation. And she was right. She pointed it out, and I said, you know, I'm going with her idea, because it was better than my idea. I don't even remember what it was now. I think it had something to do with when the ninjas are climbing the wall to get into her room. But I'm just like, it's even a child. This is one thing I've noticed with filmmaking, by the way. It's about editing. This is something very true about editing films. Is that when the edit is wrong and it makes the performances seem wooden, even a child can tell. A poorly edited movie, even a kid, a 5-year-old, can tell there's something wrong. They can't tell you what's wrong. They can't tell you how to fix it, but they know. They can tell. So you don't have to be qualified, really, to think there's something in my project that could be improved. Now, I may not accept your idea. I may go, well, you know what? That's a great suggestion, and I'm going to reject that one. You know, but thanks for the suggestion. I don't resent the suggestion. If somebody said to me, there's something about your animation technique that really, you know, Dave, it could kind of stand to improve, I would be like, thank you. You know, I'd be like, cool, man. You know, what a blessing to have someone who's got the courage to speak up. You know, because frankly, most people don't. Most people don't have the courage to speak up. And you did. And I appreciate that. That's my attitude. Now, it boggles my mind that more people don't operate that way, but, you know, they don't. They basically don't, unfortunately. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this drawing. I'm going to have to make some definite tweaks here. Okay, wait. Yes, it switched to the default brush. That's one thing with OpenTunes that bugs me, is it always switches to the default brush when you switch away from the level and then back again. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Now, to be fair, right? Well, I mean, Darren, I know that you don't make any claim to be the greatest artist on the planet, but man, there's stuff you're doing with OpenTunes that is helping a lot of people. You know, a lot of people around the world, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how many subscribers you have, but I've appreciated your knowledge more than once. Okay, let's see here. So what I have to do here is I have to erase this, and then I'm going to have to, okay, it stayed on the shadow because I'm still on the same level. So I'm just going to do this very quickly, very viscerally, and hope it looks okay. So, okay, and so now I need to go here. Probably I could get away with something like this, and then I'll take this and kind of do a little stretchy poo. I think that'll work. D key. I don't know. It takes a village, I guess. I know that I'm not that great at color. I'm not. I'm well aware that I don't want to say I suck at it, but basically I suck at color. I'm not a color guy. Why? I have no idea. I don't know why. I just don't have a great talent for color. I don't see that way. I can see music. I can write music, write songs very, very quickly. I mean, there's quite a nice little batch of songs in the one movie I did that did really well called Healed by Grace. And I wrote all the songs, and my daughter and I mean, she sang them, and I did played all the instruments, you know, and I can write a song. I can write software. I can animate. I can create cartoons that seem to have the spark of life to them. But by gum, I suck at color. Color I suck at. Well, and that's where I've wondered if some fundamental lessons on cartooning would be well received as well, because that's something I probably could do. You know, I don't know. I just thought about it. I thought about different things to sort of develop the YouTube channel more. But it's definitely fun the live streaming and having, you know, you guys like jumping in and you know, just kind of having people to bounce stuff off of is pretty cool. All right, so how do I want to do this? I think I want to use this. Okay, this color is semi-transparent. I tell you what I'm going to do to be safe. I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and I'm going to call this Silhouette. Oh, come on. Come on! The late, great Donio said, come on. This happened before. I hit the L key. That's what made it go into loop mode. So this is going to be Silhouette. Okay. The reason I'm doing that is because there are a number of frames that have silhouettes in them, and I don't, like right there, I don't quite know how I want to implement that yet. So rather than, well, I like the way that came out. By the way, that really came out nicely. Okay, so so I guess I'm going back up to the top here, and what I wanted to do is go here, and I'm going to fill this with that so that I can change my mind later about what color I use. So maybe I'll do something like that for the moment, and that'll work. Hey, it's cool. Zip key. Are you subscribed here? I don't remember. The zip key name I don't remember. Maybe I'm just not remembering. Hair. Nighty. Okay, unfortunately Akari's got to have her mouth erased. Sorry. Gotta do it. And then we're going to do the irises here. And the eyes with this. And the pupils with this. Okay, and now we can get down to the business of dealing with shadows, which means we hit the B key and then grab the shadow color. Hello, B key. Alright. Here we go. She's got the light coming in from up top. So I'm going to say, we'll see how this goes. Now, I want to mention something here. I don't care if I go outside the lines. Earlier I was trying to be careful, but then I decided, you know what, that's stupid. So what I'm doing is in the compositor, or in the schematic, I added the multiply INO effect. So the shadows level is actually being multiplied over top of the pencils level. And this option, clipping mask, is checked. So what that means is when I render, it's clipped to her. So it doesn't matter if I go outside the lines a little bit. Make sense? Okay, I see. Cool. Alright, so back to work. B. Uh-oh. It switched. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take this default color and make it red, so there's no chance that I'm going to accidentally use it. That way I get a a very good warning. Alright, so now we got to go with this. Okay, honestly, I just realized something. Let me check this. Golly, let me look at this. See, that looks okay. That does not look okay. I gotta fix this. S key. Fortunately, I can very easily. I'm just gonna hit the S key. I'm gonna grab this and move it down because her eyes were too high on her head. Whoa! That's not what we wanted to have happen. Well, rather than fight with it, I'm just gonna paint it in so that we can keep moving forward. With the P key, actually, and by the way, I don't think that's the default in OpenTunes. I don't think that the P key is invoked with, I mean, I don't think that this paintbrush tool is invoked with the P key by default. I think that that is a shortcut that I set up. Okay, so now we're back here. B. A little bit here. A little bit here. Alright, so we're just gonna kinda, okay, so now we want to definitely have a few of these. Yeah, that makes a big difference. And highlight as well. Just the thing I've been learning is not too much. Don't go too crazy with the highlights because you wind up getting a level of detail that's really not appropriate to an anime. Okay, so I'm just going to go like that and then hit the F key and fill that. Little scoopy there. Cool. And I believe earlier I was going ahead and putting a shadow under here. So I can just go like that. F key. And then again, when it renders, it'll be clipped properly. So, works out just fine. Okay, and just a little boom right there. Probably should have some of this in shadow, I think. Okay. Do you do all your compositing in OpenTunes? I'll use it for doing the character animation. I mean the hard way. Well, no. There's going to be editing and color correction invariably in Vegas once we get to the editing stage. Everything always winds up changing in the edit. So there's no point kidding yourself that it won't, because it always does. But I do try to get things somewhat close right here in OpenTunes. That's true. Alright, man, 2 hours and 8 minutes. Well, how are we doing here, folks? I think we're... Oh yeah, we need a little bit of a... By the way, I'm just going to say this right now, just for the heck of it. Is having this grid on, if you're doing character design, is quite useful for just measuring and getting things where they're supposed to be. Okay, now this guy... I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop here shortly. I'm going to go ahead and stop, because this guy is a little bit of a deal buster. Because not only do I need to I need to figure out what the color of his hair is going to be. And not only that, but this robe he's wearing, it looks like a freaking bathrobe. So I feel like I need to take a break and then come back and really get a plan figured out for what I'm going to do with this guy. Because it's like, now that we're up to him, it's sort of go time to figure out what his costuming is going to be. So I guess I could go ahead and... Whoa, that didn't work. Well, that's patently offensive, isn't it? Is that where the leak is? Let's find out. Yep, that was where the leak was. So, I guess I can sneak along. I'm going to fill in those two silhouettes we saw earlier, and then I'm going to call it quits for a bit. So that would be coming up here, I think. Yeah, I think definitely this guy. I know, he's Spider-Man, right? Or Venom or something. Ah, here we go. This is what I was talking about. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. I love this sequence. It always makes me laugh. Yeah, and for me, it's like, if I can draw something and it makes me laugh, my own drawing, then I feel good about that. I see that there's a little screw up there with her slipper, so we'll have to address that when we get there. So, yeah, well, the coloring, I was really starting to wonder. I'm like, man, this is not fun, but I've sort of gotten a bit of a workflow that seems to work. Okay, so what happened here? One wonders. Oh, I see. That's interesting. Okay, this is my own stupidity. When I colored this originally, apparently I used the wrong... Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it right now, the same way I showed earlier. I'm going to go here. I'm going to take the fill tool, and I'm going to go in rectangular mode. And I am going to select shadow. We're going to fill areas. And I think that should... Wait a minute. Why did it disappear? That's weird. Let's try that again. Control Z. Why would that... Okay, I know what I can do. I know what I can do. B key. Yeah, that's what I can do. I'm just going to go like this. Okay. I probably can just fill it. Oh, you don't want to be in rectangular mode for this. Okay, maybe if I just do that. Oh, that didn't do the trick either. So I have to make sure I have an appropriate border to fill. Yeah, that's my own stupid mistake because I forgot about the that early on I had been using... see, that stinks. I'd been using the wrong palette entry for the shadow on the first couple frames I did. So I think that'll fix it. Yeah, that's better. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. So unfortunately, that might mean that there's some frames up here that are... Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to switch this back to what it was and call it good. Yeah. Sometimes you cut your losses. Okay. And some food, huh? Yeah, alright, cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have been a lot of fun tonight, and I feel like I've gotten some good work done, so not too shabby. Try to stay warm, folks. The Arctic cold is supposed to break by tomorrow, so with that, I will sign off.